So how do you prepare for the resignation process? It's now time to resign. You've been made a formal offer. By the way, never resign until you've removed all the contingencies. It's just the smartest way to keep things safe. So what does that mean? Well, you got an offer. Have you signed it and sent it back to the company yet? If not, get that done. Have you completed a physical and a drug screening, gotten clearance that those issues are resolved? Has your background check, your degree confirmation check, your references all been completed? Have you signed a non-compete agreement or a non-disclosure agreement and returned all of that? Are all the contingencies removed? That's when you should resign. Normally, you should never resign until all those issues are removed and you're absolutely clear you've got a green light towards start date. Now, before you resign, it's a real good idea to prepare and to outline on a piece of paper your decision-making process. Why did you make a decision to leave your current employer? Spell it out in a good amount of detail. And why did you make the decision to accept this new opportunity? That process helps you eliminate a lot of the emotions that can come up when you go into the resignation process. It helps you to stay focused on the logic and to not get caught up in complaining or finger pointing, or it also helps you to keep away from the emotional draws, the tugs that will come during the resignation process. So when you go in to resign, you need to be prepared for those emotional tugs, the counteroffer experiences that typically come up. For example, your boss might say, hey, we're family, my wife and your wife, we hang out, your kids, we're all close. Why are you leaving? How could you do this to us? What's it going to take financially? If it's all about money, what do we got to do to keep you from leaving? You can't leave me now. We got this big project coming up. I need you. You're an important part of the organization. We've been considering giving you a new position. We just haven't announced it yet. Hang in there. In 30, 60, 90 days, whatever, we're going to complete this reorganization. You're going to be getting the job you've been wanting. You don't need to leave. You can get it here. There's all sorts of things that can come up. And in the great majority of the cases, you need to recognize you're being told what they want you to hear because they can't afford to lose you. Because it reflects bad on your boss. It makes it harder for him to convince the rest of the team that he's taking care of the people and others start considering leaving. His boss is questioning how he's managing the team and why you're leaving. It's just an uncomfortable time for your boss. So he's going to do everything he can to convince you from leaving. And you also need to look at how counteroffers affect you as it relates to your future if you do stay. If you stay, you are now suspect. Your loyalty's in question. They never know if you're interviewing every time you take a couple hours off. You're always being looked at as a person who is, ready to walk out the door at a moment's notice, and so they question whether or not they should offer you promotions, raises. The loyalty and the bond isn't as strong anymore. So we always recommend that if you make a decision, stick with it and move forward. The thing you can do for your current employer to keep him from getting emotional and getting into all of these counteroffer scenarios is to provide him a written letter that says, hey, I've made my decision. I've decided that I'm moving on. I've really enjoyed the time I've had with you. I've learned a lot, grown a lot, but I've also contributed a lot. And together we've been quite successful. But I am not interested in counteroffers. I'm not interested in counter proposals or discussing making a change in my decision. And would appreciate if you'd respect my decision and keep a copy of this letter in my employment file for future reference. Put a letter like that together. It makes it very hard for them to bring up all these counteroffer scenarios. And if they do, you say, listen, please look at the letter. I really am not interested in going there. It eliminates that possibility and makes it a lot easier for you to stay focused. There's an outline for how I would recommend you get prepared for the resignation process and how you would prepare a resignation letter.